So our next, and that's just another 10-minute masterclass, but we are so perfect on time today. So maybe we can make it an 11-minute masterclass. We will explore the following questions. Is it enough to tell the same story on multiple platforms, or transmedia and shaping each one differently for the platforms you are on? And it's my great pleasure to give the floor to Daniela Rodriguez.
Well, thanks, Thorsten, and let's get the best of these 11 minutes. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Dani Rodriguez, and I'm a Mexican communicator. And what I'm going to share with you is part of the communication activities I have learned and developed during my presentation in 2 projects. Okay, so I was telling you that this is part of the communication activities I have developed for 2 different projects. The first one is Colibri Mission, one of the first Mexican CubeSat projects developed between the Universidad Panamericana and the Space Propulsion Lab at MIT, and also inside the Small Satellites Project Group at the Space Generation Advisory Council. So let's start with a question. What do you think NASA and Star Wars have in common? An immediate answer could be space. Space technology, their interest in space technology, space itself, because everything happens in space. A second thought may be the crew, because absolutely we have talented people behind the characters, behind each endeavor. The team that makes both brands powerful brands. And this is something they have in common too. We think about NASA as a brand. Yeah, it is the US Space Agency, but most of the people look at the logo and they find us a symbol of what? Of many things, starting with space exploration. So the same happens with Star Wars. It's a legendary story that transcends generations. And the positioning that both brands have in the world and in our minds is in great part due to the way they communicate who they are. And this takes me to the last characteristic they have in common, the narrative universe. This is because they communicate what they do, who they are, their identity in a certain and specific way. So NASA and Star Wars have in common the way in which both organize their narrative universe, and this is what we call transmedia. So let me explain you a little bit where does transmedia come from. The term transmedia is new. In fact, it was formally introduced by the media scholar Henry Jenkins a couple of years ago in an article written for the MIT Technology Review. And he explained further this concept in his book Convergence Culture, which you can see in the slide. And he defines transmedia as transmedia storytelling, which is a story that unfolds across multiple media platforms, with each new text making a distinctive and valuable contribution to the whole. And what is important to remember here is that Jenkins applied the concept of transmedia principally to the entertainment industry. And this is because there was a change, or this approach changes the way in which the audiences interact with entertainment franchises. For example, let me take you to the next slide. And why is it important to understand, or what is the context behind transmedia? This change in which audiences interact is what Henry Jenkins calls convergence culture, which is a new way of media consumption where users surf through a flow of information where a new media collide, digital media collide, traditional medium collide, where the media consumers become producers, that term called prosumers, of the content too, and where the audiences move from one device to another platform to another in not predictable ways. So in that context, one way to understand transmedia, or one way to understand this behavior, it's behind the metaphor, puzzle metaphor by itself. Each star offers an experience that it's cool, but it becomes more enjoyable when you look at the other stars and find the whole picture of the constellation. So a few examples of what Henry Jenkins understands as transmedia or the narrative universes used in blockbusters are Matrix, Harry Potter, The Blair Witch Project, Star Wars. All of them are blockbusters, but all of them have complete narrative universes in which we are immersed and in which we interact with the story, with the characters in different ways. So let's take a look at our first examples, NASA and Star Wars. As you can see in this image and in this slide, the public outreach of NASA and the entertainment universe of Star Wars are integrated by diverse media channels, and each of them adds meaning and information to the whole brand story. For example, NASA TV broadcasts live launches, while NASA podcasts help people understand some topics through the voices of engineers, scientists, astronauts. You can also find a Twitter account for each rover, and in their tweets, it seems like they are talking to you and giving you updates. So that's great. In Star Wars films, develop the main story of the characters, while TV series and books show the important battles behind them with more detail. Streaming series such as The Mandalorian add information to the universe in kind of sequels. And not to mention the pure transmedia you can live, and it's offering the Rise of the Resistance attraction in Disney Park and the merchandising. So this is an example of how transmedia changes the way a brand can interact and get closer to the people. But how can we start applying transmedia to our projects and to startups, to our companies, and so on? Well, as the author Christy Dana says, transmedia is more than storytelling. Transmedia is a practice, and it has been applied into different projects, such as journalism, marketing, PR, and communication. So for this, we have to redefine what transmedia means and give another definition. And this one was built by Professor Cronin, and he adapted the original from Jenkins. And here it goes. Transmedia, so it would be a process whereby elements of a brand story get dispersed systematically across multiple media for the purpose of creating a coordinated consumer experience with the brand, with each medium making its own unique contribution to the unfolding of the story. So what does this mean? As the definition states, transmedia communication is a process. It's a process that consists principally of 4 steps, and this is like the steps you can follow for starting doing transmedia. The first one is branding. It means transforming your space project into a brand, identifying which values or attributes will help you build your media experience. This means to be sure about who you are, what makes you different, and build a clear and consistent identity. And this goes from the name and the logo to the content. The next step would be your communication goals. Then you have to map or identify your stakeholders. Who are you going to talk to and why? What do you want from them? What do you want for them? Establish your communication goals. Do you want to build a community of followers, networking, get sponsors, in what period of time? You need to be clear about why are you opening these channels. And the next step after that, you may now proceed with your key messages, the main ideas you want your public to have in mind, and finally, start organizing and planning your transmedia universe. So in the next slide, please, let's take Colibri Mission, the Mexican project, as an example. In Colibri Mission, just to give a context, is a student-run project supported by a relatively young Mexican space agency and is reliant on the fundraising campaigns of the team members. In its efforts to break the existing scientific boundaries within Mexico, attending and engaging with the general public from its initial stages were fundamental activities for our team. So transmedia is the communication strategy that best suited us for accomplishing 2 main objectives, public outreach and fundraising. Our transmedia universe consists of the media presented in this slide, a website that offers a general overview of the project, a blog where the engineering students share what they learn, a Facebook account to make general announcements, an Instagram account that shows the behind-the-scenes material, a Twitter account where an engineering student tells what it's like to work in a CubeSat project, and an augmented reality app for iOS where people can interact with the CubeSat. And what I'd like to highlight here is that these public outreach efforts have been developed by a team of 5 members, only 5 people, and that the channels became available as information became available. Take as an example the augmented reality app. We couldn't have launched it at the initial stages of the project because we still didn't have a complete design of the CubeSat. So this means that you don't have to open all the channels at the same time. It depends on the evolution of your project, but it's important to envision the whole transmedia universe since the beginning. So what is transmedia worth it? In the next slide, please. Why is it worth it? Why is it important to do it? What makes it different? Well, a traditional approach, such as the integrated marketing strategy, suggests choosing a series of communication channels and ensuring that there is a unified content distributed through them. This way, whoever the user may be and whatever kind of content he, she, or they consult, they will be able to find the same discourse in all channels. However, transmedia is not integrated marketing. Instead of repeating and reinforcing the same message across different media, transmedia marketing consists of planning, organizing a complete consumer experience. It's no longer about repeating what is done over multiple media platforms, but sharing fresh content through different media channels. In the slide, you can see that it states that each medium does what it does best, and this is because its format and its audience have particular characteristics. A podcast or a webinar may be great for interviews, while Reels help you show a glimpse for your everyday routine. And I think this was a big part of today's event, understanding how and for what each platform works. Remember the constellation metaphor, each new channel contributes to the whole. Each new channel is a point of entry to your whole universe, but it's self-contained, so it's understandable by themselves. It's important to give the user freedom to search, to interact, to leave, to return. Make the users move from one channel to the other, make them search for more, plant clues, make them feel part of your brand. And as a plus, something important is that transmedia allows to attend different stakeholders inside the same strategy. And that's why it can attract different marketing niches. So these are the principal characteristics of why transmedia is worth it. Getting close to the conclusions in the next slide, please. After implementing transmedia as a communication strategy, I have realized some things. First, it focuses on telling the brand's story rather than saturating the user with unrelated information. Second, it facilitates the introduction of a new project for those who are unaware and helps keep them interested. And it was really important for us in Mexico because we don't have a space culture. So doing this is a way to call their attention and keep them interested into different channels and different contents and different ways. Third, transmedia storytelling contributes to the formation of brand advocates within your audience, thanks to the emotional approach. And lastly, it allows for better organization of the key messages that the brand probably wants to disseminate. So the last slide, please, is a quick reminder that don't forget to invite other brands or other teams or accounts to collaborate with you, because this helps expand your transmedia universe. There are many examples of transmedia campaigns that help you keep interested. In this slide, you can find a list of authors that can tell you more about this. And as a personal announcement, in the last IAC Congress, I presented a paper that works like a step-by-step guide for every space enthusiast who wants to implement transmedia in their projects. So you can give it a look by scanning this QR code or typing the link, but also if you find this topic interesting, it would be great to hear from you, help you with ideas. In the final slide, it's my contact information. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for these small troubles. And thanks to Powering Space and its partners for giving me the chance to share this transmedia experience with all of you.